Capital, and we are the 401k investment advisors. My colleague Mark L is with me as well too. You've got two financial advisors available to you. We'll talk about our service model and what we do for the 401k plan in a little bit, and share with you our contact information as well. I did, before this meeting, send over Karen an email that included these documents that we'll review, and then a couple links too. So you don't need to print anything out. If you want to take notes, that's fine, but it'll all make a lot of sense once you get that email, and we'll go from there. So the first thing that we wanted to, okay, fantastic. So, and you guys should be able to see my computer screen on your end, that retirement building your future. I'll go through those documents, and then you can reference the email, after we get done. But the first document that we'll look at is called the Online Enrollment Packet, and it does have 15 pages. The first page is just a cover page, and the second one has really the meat and potatoes of this process. The process we recommend participants doing is the online enrollment path rather than filling out the paper form. Online enrollment's more secure, it's faster, and you get your login and username right off the bat right there too. It's quicker as well. So we really would try to steer everybody to go and complete the online enrollment if they wouldn't mind. If they do want to complete a paper form, we do have those available, and we'll actually talk through that paper form just to give you a heads up of what questions you're going to be answering throughout this online enrollment. So the first step is to go to this website link, which is yourplanaccess.net/retirementplanconsultants. That link is in the email, and that will prompt up on a screen that goes to the Retirement Plan Consultants website. And I've actually got it pulled up here in another tab, and I'll drag it over here. So you should, this is a website that you should create some familiarity with. This is going to be your login screen for you to go and access all of your account information into the future. There is an online enrollment video that goes over the onboarding process of online enrollment. So if you wanted a little bit more of a refresher of what we've go over today, you can click this enrollment video link here. And that just literally is like screenshots of the steps that you're going to complete via the online enrollment and nothing else. The first step, as referenced into that packet, is you go to this website, you click online enrollment, and that's going to flip the screen. I'm going to go back and do that again too. So up in the top left corner, it says online enrollment. You click online enrollment, and then you'll type in a plan password. And that plan password is Carlsbad, all in capital letters. And then you're going to go and just hit next. It'll prompt you to put in your social security number and date of birth. After you've done that, I would recommend just participants go to page 9 of 15. And I'm going to scroll down here. And it goes over the exact same things that we just reviewed. Is go to this website, click online enrollment, type in your plan password, enter your social security number, date of birth, and then follow those prompts going forward. So this page 9 through 15 is a great step-by-step process with screenshots of what to expect. For the purposes of today's call, I did want to go and reference the paper PDF form to give you guys an idea of what types of questions you're going to be answering throughout the online enrollment process. For the first piece, you're going to be putting in things like personal information, so contact information, address, the social security number, of course, and date of birth. One piece of information that may not be top of mind is your date of hire. So get with Karen, make sure the records match or are in line. So, write that down on a scrap piece of paper or something so you have that at your fingertips when you're completing the online enrollment. But everybody will need to know their date of hire. It's very important because it has to do with eligibility of you participate in the plan. So after you filled out the personal information, we get really into the first questions that you'll be answering throughout that onboarding process. For Karen, for the purposes of individuals enrolling or not wanting to participate in the plan at this time, this document that you're reviewing right now, it is part of the enrollment packet or enrollment book. It's pages 2 and 3 of 55. So it's the cover page and then the beginning of this application. And for those employees who do not want to participate in the plan at this time, we will want them to fill out that top section, personal information. They'll select this first box and then sign the last page or the second page here. And that form will serve as a waiver that you've presented that participant the benefit to participate in the plan, but at that time they wish not to participate. For those who don't want to participate in the plan at this time, you can say no right now, but then defer and start at a later date. There are quarterly enrollment periods. So if you said no today for, say, an October 1 start, you would have to wait until January and then April or July and then, October in the next year as well. So depending on when you stop or start, you would have to, or not wait, you would have to start at a later date, starting at the beginning of the quarter going forward. For those who do want to participate, you've got a couple options from a contribution standpoint. We hope everybody wants to participate, but we know that might not be the reality. For those people who do want to participate, you do have the option of putting in pre-tax contributions or after-tax contributions, which would be a Roth contribution. Depending on your individual tax bracket, one may be better than the other. We tend to see people that are in their earlier working years or in a lower tax bracket, they tend to do Roth. If you are looking for those deductions or trying to reduce your taxable income, then we see more people do that traditional or pre-tax contribution. I was going to pause there. Does anybody have any questions about Roth or pre-tax? Does that make sense? Is everybody clear on the differences between the two?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't really have any questions on that.
Okay, sounds good. So we've really answered two of the first questions, or two of the four questions when doing the enrollment process. Am I in or am I out? Hopefully the answer is yes. The second one is traditional versus Roth. And then depending on your circumstance, you may be one or the other. And then the third is how much. So now we know we're going to go and save in that 401k plan. What's appropriate? What should I be saving? What is it? What are all my peers saving? The national average is at 8% right now. So your peers, my peers, all age groups, everybody on average is saving around 8% of their income into their retirement plan. It was around 7% a few years back. With the economy and the growth that we've had, people have gotten a raise with the tax changes. We have seen that average creep up to 8%. So use that 8% number as kind of a watermark to get to, or a goal to get to. A lot of studies have shown that 10% is really the magic number. Through retirement calculators and retirement planning tools, 10% is really the number. If we could shake each one of you right now and say, save 10%, save 10%, I would do it through the phone, but really try to encourage yourself and get up to that 10% number. What's also important is there is a company benefit that's available to those who participate in the plan, which is a company match. And that match is what's called a basic safe harbor match, which is a phenomenal benefit. And we're very, very happy that Karen has that part of her plan and is a benefit to you as employees. So it's an incentive for you to save, but it is a company expense. So we want to be mindful of that as well. So for those participants who do participate, you are eligible to participate and get that match. And the match works like this. It's 100% on the first 3%, and then 50% on the next 2%. So if you put in 1%, the company will give you 1. If you put in 2, the company will give you 2, 3 for 3. If you put in 4%, the company is going to give you 3.5. And if you put in 5%, the company is going to give you 4. The maximum the company is going to give you is 4% of compensation. So if you put in something greater than 5%, then you still would get a maximum of 4. So in the example, let's just say you're going to save 6%. You would be saving 6% of your income. The company would put in 4% of your income as a company match. So as an example, let's just say you have your paycheck, weekly paycheck's $1,000. You're going to save 6% each week. That's $60. The company is going to give you a $40 on that for a total of $100 going in per paycheck. So you're saving 60. Your paycheck may only go down by $50 because of the pre-tax contribution, and you're saving $100. So you're almost doubling your money automatically with just saving, $60 into your account at that 6% example. So it's very, very powerful to save, but it's a great incentive to capitalize on that company match if you are interested in participating as well too. Essentially, it's free money. So if you are participating at a lower percentage, say 2, 3, 4%, you're leaving free money on the table. So we would encourage everybody at least to participate at a rate of 5% or more to capitalize on that company match. So
Can I back
yeah,
up
go ahead.
just 1 second? When you were asking whether or not we had questions in regards to the retirement plan or the Roth retirement plan,
Yeah.
do you mind touching on that just for a second? Because I really am not, I've always done pre-tax, and that's always been kind of my understanding, but I'm not familiar with the Roth.
Yeah, so the Roth is that you're going to put in contributions that you're paying taxes on today. So, and then when you retire, you've already paid the taxes, so Uncle Sam's not there to go and collect the taxes as you distribute those retirement contributions. So the real difference is it is somewhat of a guess of what is better than the other. And the reason is we do not know what tax rates are going to be 10 years from now or 5 years from now, or what your income is going to be in retirement as well. So depending on your tax bracket right now and what you foresee your tax bracket to be in the future, one may be better than the other. So hedging your bets one way or the other is really the difference. There's really never a perfect solution of saying this one is the best case scenario versus the other, but essentially the difference is a Roth account, you're paying taxes today and you're putting in after-tax money, and then a pre-tax account, you're putting in monies that have not paid taxes on, and then as you withdraw those money in retirement, you would pay the effective tax rate that you are in that given year. Now, because that's a guess of what tax rates are going to be, what your income is going to be, the sentiment is normally that people would no longer be, earning a larger income in retirement. They wouldn't be working. They may be working part-time. Social Security may be, 30, 40% of what your pay rate is now. So you'd be most likely in a lower tax bracket or the lowest tax bracket possible. So pre-tax is often the true and tried way, but we do see people that, are younger. They have no idea what tax rates are going to be, and they perceive that they're going to go up. We've got a large deficit. And also that they may be making more money throughout their working career later in life, and that they want to capitalize on that pre-tax deduction as well. Is that kind of a long-winded answer, but does that help clarify a little bit?
It does, actually. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So going back, was there any questions that either of you have on Roth or pre-tax, or the how much question?
No, not at this time for me.
No, I
okay.
think we're good.
And so one thing I did want to create some clarity around is that if you decide to do Roth, the company contribution, that company 4% maximum match, is always going to go into a pre-tax bucket. Because the company is not paying taxes on your behalf, it's going to put into that pre-tax bucket automatically. So if you were to, in this example, going to save, say, $60 into a Roth account, so $60 is going to come off the bottom of your check. Let's say you netted $760. You're going to put in $60, so your net take-home pay is going to be $700. That $60 is going into your Roth 401k account. That company match is going to be that 4%, which would be $40. So $40 is going to go into a pre-tax bucket. $60 is going to go into a Roth bucket. So inside of your 401k account and under your login, you'll have two money types, and you'll see those distinct differences. And the reason being is they want to record keep and make sure that they've got those two buckets of money separated, because you don't want to have to pay taxes again on that Roth. So it's important to separate those two buckets of money. So I just wanted to make that clarification. So if you're trying to, say, hedge your bets a little bit on what may be better than the other, is that you as a participant can just do a Roth contribution, and it's after tax, just knowing that that 4% match is going into a pre-tax bucket, and you're kind of splitting the difference, if you will. So one thing that you can do is you can adjust either going into a Roth or a pre-tax at any time. So if you want to, change your mind 6 months from now or a year from now and switch from contributing to a Roth to go back to a pre-tax, you can adjust that at any time. And same with the contribution amount. If you wanted to go, down or go up, you can always adjust that over time as well. So nothing is set in stone. It's very flexible for you. We would, again, recommend people participate at least 5%, get up to that national average of 8%, and even up to that 10% number. One thing to be mindful of is people may be starting out at a lower percentage, say 5%, one thing that you can do is auto increase or bump up your contribution 1% every year. And that 1% bump is a huge way of getting up to that national average or getting up to a higher percentage. And that big difference, or that little difference of 1%, can have a very big effect to your ending balance in retirement. So keep that in mind as you're evaluating what your contribution rates are year to year. So I'm going to hop over to the investment piece, which is on the second page of the enrollment application. And there's about 30 investment choices that either of you can pick from. This is the kind of fourth question that you'll answer. And we feel like it's often that brick wall effect for folks. They can, quantify how much they can save and budget. Yes, they can quantify, the Roth may make more sense, or the pre-tax may make more sense, but the investments are really hard for people to go and grasp. And we understand that. We as advisors want to help educate you to whatever degree you want to be educated on. And part of our services are to review these investments every single quarter to make sure that they are the best that they possibly can be every single quarter. So Mark and I's role is to review these, and if there's one that isn't doing good, we're going to pull it out and replace it with one that is. So this investment menu is constantly getting improved quarter after quarter over time. There's some phenomenal investments. All of these are all top quality in their respective asset classes and top quartile rankings from a performance standpoint, and low fees. All of them are all institutional grade mutual funds, which that means to you is that each fund has a bunch of different share class options. So this one, actually, this Lord Abbett Short Duration Income, it's a fixed income fund. There's 8 other retirement share classes, and a share class indicates how much you pay for it. So it's like a box of Cheerios. If you go to Costco and Albertsons and King Soopers and Safeway and all those different grocery stores, you may be getting the exact same box of Cheerios, but you may be paying the same, or not the same price. So it's the same way with mutual funds. Is you're getting the same investments, but you may not be paying the same price. In this lineup, you are paying the Costco prices and getting the best deal and having the best options available to you as well. So we get that. You've got great funds and good performance as well too, but that doesn't help pick those for you. So we, from a service standpoint, want to help educate you on picking appropriate investments based off of your risk tolerance. And we put together this model asset allocation guide as an investment guide for you to help pick those investments today, but also into the future. And this looks like a big Excel spreadsheet. It is in the email that was sent out, so you can reference that as well. And this spreadsheet is broken out into 2 sections. There's a larger rectangle up in the top right corner and then one in the bottom left, which we'll talk about. This larger one in the middle is all of the core investments, and they're broken out into the asset classes, as you can see on the second column here. Emerging markets, large cap, mid cap, small cap, fixed income stuff. The ticker symbols in the third. And then we've put together 5 model portfolios based off of a risk tolerance. So depending on your risk tolerance, we've put together the math and the homework of what we would recommend you invest in and what percentage we would recommend you be in based off of these investment choices. So for those who want to be a little bit more hands-on with some help picking those investments, this is the path that we would like you to pick as a resource. We do update these numbers every single quarter, and we'll send that out to Karen to then pass out to the employees that are in the plan to help them with that ongoing advice. So the ask of you is, if you're going to follow one of these columns, you would just go in online once a quarter or a couple times a year and update those percentages with the updated guide. For education purposes, we tend to see people that are in their earlier working years tend to be more aggressive. That 20 and 30 crowd, even into their 40s, they'll tend to be in that aggressive column. People that are in their 40s and 50s, they'll tend to go and take a little bit less risk and be more in that moderate aggressive column. And as they're in their late 50s and their 60s, they'll tend to switch to that 50-50 moderate column. So depending just on your age, one of these columns may be more appropriate than the other. And then as you're in retirement, we tend to see people in those other 2, conservative or moderate conservative. We want people to take appropriate risk with their investment choices, but also not unnecessary risk. On the next section, on that bottom left corner of this sheet, is all the target date funds. The target date fund is more of that autopilot cruise control type mentality for those who want to be a little bit more hands-off with their investment choices. And the way target date funds work is you would do the math around what year it will be when you reach age 65. And that's going to plop you into one of these little target ranges here. And let's just say for conversation purposes, you're at the 2048 year. So you're going to retire at the year 2048. Your target date fund would be the 2050 fund, and you would go 100% into that one fund. That would be your choice. And the way they work is they start out aggressive for the earlier working crowd, the 20s and 30-year-olds, and then every 5 years they de-risk, ultimately becoming about a 50-50 portfolio, or right in that moderate range. So the ones in blue that I've highlighted, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to be 80 to 90% equities, like that far right column up on the top. And then the next four are going to be more in that 60-30, 70-30 mix, or in that moderate aggressive column, that second one to the right. And then the three that are the closest to this given year, we're in 2018. It's kind of splitting the difference between the two on the bottom there. And that's going to be more of a 50-50 portfolio. So they start out 90% in equities, and they de-risk every 5 years, almost kind of like a slide, and ultimately reaching about a 50-50 portfolio at retirement year. So these are appropriate based off of your age and risk tolerance throughout your working career. They are very popular for that hands-off approach, and that exact reason. About 80% of assets that are being saved into retirement plans are actually going into target date funds. There's a bunch of fund families that have target date funds. Vanguard's one of the best, so you've got a great option there for you. There's no right or wrong way to either pick one of the columns or pick one of the target date funds. It just depends on how involved you want to be with your allocation and choices. So I want to pause there. Threw out a bunch of information, kind of option A and option B. Were there any questions about either of those?
No, actually, I think this is awesome. I like the fact that the target date, basically, essentially, what the difference is that the hands-on, of course, is the larger, is us putting the percentages in ourselves. The target date is you, of course, choosing it for us based on our retirement. I think it's pretty simple. Stephen got it down too.
Yep, no, well said. And one thing too is part of the plan and part of 401k plans is they have to have a default investment choice and what's called a QDIA. Kind of getting into the weeds a little bit, but if you as an individual never picked an investment, the default has to be appropriate. And what the IRS and Department of Labor looked at and said, well, we need to be appropriate for everybody, not just a certain group. So if we put everybody in the same investment and we put a 30-year-old in the same investment as an 80-year-old, that would be a problem. So that's why target date funds really exist, is that it's appropriate for all age groups and at all different stages of their working career and investment time frame. So what's good for one is good for many in this scenario, and you can be 100% in one target date fund and have diversification, but also be aware that it's appropriate based off of your age. So, and then the third option is you have full discretion of picking your investments. So if you care to do research and pick and choose investments, you're free to do it just like you are in other 401k plans you may have participated in the past. It works the exact same way. We just want to be mindful that you're picking the very best funds, you've got appropriate risk, and you're doing a good investment philosophy as well too. On the bottom of the, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just have one question. I'm sure you might be covering this, but just the question came to my head. If we do have something that, if we do have another plan, is our option to roll it over, or are you going to cover that?
Yes, we'll actually touch on that. Literally, it's the next thing, probably in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
So that's good. Definitely important. So I just wanted to briefly mention before we touch on that is that our contact information is going to be in the subject of the email as well, but it's also on the bottom of this asset allocation guide. Each one of you are free to call us as much or as less as you would like. We're not going to go and bill you like an attorney would. You can give us a call, shoot us an email with any questions. We're here for you. If you don't have an advisor, you have one now. We're not here to disrupt any relationships that you may have with your existing, family or financial advisor. We're here to just augment that and supplement that to help, guide you on your 401k plan. So reach out to us. This is not a one and done service as well too. We've got ongoing quarterly communications that will be coming out to you as participants with this asset allocation guide, a newsletter, a short educational video. And again, you're free to reach out to us at any time. But going and touching on that one item that Karen just brought up, before we get to that, I did want to just mention one quick thing is the beneficiary designation. Each of you will have on the online enrollment a spot where you will deem a beneficiary or fill out a beneficiary. And a beneficiary is important because if in the event that you pass away, the monies that you accumulated in this account or rolled into this account goes to whom you wish. And it's important to keep that up to date. So if you're single now and you get married, update your beneficiary information. If you're married and you get divorced or have kids, update your beneficiary information. It's very important. So all online, you will have that availability of typing in that information, or you can fill out the paper form. Online, super easy to just take care of that there. If you do need to update it, you can have access 24/7, 365 to go back in online and update that as well. As an example, for a scenario, husband and wife couple and 2 kids, the spouse would be listed primary beneficiary at 100%, and then the 2 kids would be listed contingent beneficiaries at 50% apiece. So make sure you're filling that out correctly. There is a kind of a very unique thing with spousal beneficiaries. There's a note on the bottom of this page. It's on page 4 of the beneficiary form, and it has to do with spousal consent. And in the event that you do not pick your spouse as primary beneficiary or first in line, they have to sign this form, and a witness notary also has to sign this form. So if you are skipping your spouse, if you pass away and giving it to somebody else, they have to acknowledge it, and a witness notary has to be there as well too. So don't want to create any arguments over the table, but that is an IRS rule, and it's just something that we want to bring up. If that is the case, you are not able to fill that out online for some reason, because they can't authorize that signature is valid and a witness notary as well too. So you would have to fill out a paper form if that was the case. So enough of that, getting into that rollover question. So each of you that are eligible to participate in the 401k plan can roll over legacy 401k accounts, IRA accounts, anything that's a qualified retirement account, like a 457 plan or a 403b plan, company, school, 401k plan, you can roll over to this account. He also, in turn, works on the outbound. If you're no longer employed with the company and you rolled money into the plan or accumulated money in the plan, you can roll those monies out to your investment provider of your choice via an IRA or into another 401k plan that you're participating in at another company. So 401k balances essentially work, kind of like they follow you where you go. I can't tell you the countless stories that we've heard from participants that have worked for a company for 10 years and then they haven't worked for them for 10 plus years and they don't know where their 401k is at. They don't know the provider. They haven't gotten a statement in multiple years. It's really, really important to keep track of that information. Make sure that provider's got your updated contact information, address, email, you've got login account information. But it's really important to consolidate and just to keep a watchful eye on things and make sure you're aware of what your money is invested in, and also it's appropriate to your risk tolerance, because that can change over time. So what was an investment in an account 10 years ago may not be appropriate for you going forward. So consolidation is important. If you want to talk about that in greater detail, we're more than happy to go and do that. There's a whole team at Retirement Plan Consultants, which is the provider that will actually help coordinate that rollover from the prior company. So I'm just going to say you've got an account with Fidelity and you want to roll your Fidelity IRA or Fidelity 401k over to RPC. Fidelity in most cases is going to have their own form similar to this one, and then RPC is going to have this form that they'll help work and fill out. If you want to have us help insist that, you can more than happy to reach out to you and we can talk through it, pros and cons about each of those as well. So was there any questions about rollovers that either of you have, or does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it totally makes sense, and I do plan on rolling it over. And will we discuss, like, when I I guess when I send it in, is there a fee to roll it over, or will you just go through
Yeah,
that?
there's no fee. Yeah, there's no fees from the receiving firm. In most cases, every plan provider, like retirement plan consultants, Fidelity, every single record keeper of that provider will have, in most cases, a distribution fee for them to mail a check, talk to you on the phone, and coordinate that. It's normally between $50 and $75 on average. So between $50 and $75 is what it takes for them to cut a check and mail it to, the location of your choice, basically. And that's going to be the case for really any company. So just have that kind of level of expectation going into it, as, Fidelity is going to go and spend, or whomever it is going to spend, 45 minutes to an hour working on this. They're going to have to mail a check and, processing and all that stuff, and they've got to charge for that. So,
Perfect.
So it may cost you $50 or $75 maximum.
Okay, no problem.
Yep. And that's really all of the information we wanted to cover. We're going to make this video available via YouTube to those who were not able to join today. And if there's other questions, feel free to reach out to us. I wanted to be mindful of your guys' day today and try to keep it within the time frame that we allotted. But if there's any other questions, let us know. One thing from Karen's standpoint is just eligibility and enrollment is trying to get this done as quick as possible to kind of target that upcoming payroll. So depending on when your first payroll is in, most likely in October would probably be the target date for an October 1 start, as that first payroll in October would be the target there. And then having participants completed this enrollment process before that. And then, of course, we'll circle back with you, Karen, whenever you're ready to talk a little bit more about the payroll piece of it. And what has to happen is you have to have that deduction or that withholding in payroll. So whomever your payroll provider is, we would want to make sure that they've got in their systems, let's just say everybody's going to say 5%. So everybody's going to say 5%, and that's got to be keyed in. And then plus that company match would have to be keyed into payroll too, so that withholding is appropriate. So we'll work with you as you're getting closer and closer to running that first payroll to make sure that's all set up with you.
Okay, and one question in regards to eligibility for, like, if I have somebody who was working full-time for, like, say, 8 months, and now he's down to two days a week. Is he still able to participate?
Yeah, it's all based off of hire date. So if the hire date, if he's never been terminated and then rehired, that would be the only difference. But the hire date dictates the eligibility, and the eligibility is 6 months with 500 hours. So as long as he's worked there 6 months and covered 500 hours from the date of hire, and he's over 21 years old, then he would be eligible, or she would be eligible.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good to know.
Yep.
Okay.
And then those participants, as they become eligible, would be quarterly enrollment. So if somebody became eligible September 1, or let's just say August 20th, they wouldn't be able to participate September. They'd have to wait to the beginning of the next quarter. So October and January would be those subsequent quarters.
Okay, perfect. Okay.